The Bee by Charlesbridge Publishing, Part 2. Larva food. The worker bees keep the temperature inside the brood nest at 95 degrees Fahrenheit. After 3 days, a small worm-shaped larva emerges from each egg. The nurse bees are ready to give the larva their first meal of royal jelly. Royal jelly is a secretion made by young worker bees. On the 4th day, larvae are fed bee bread, a mixture of water, pollen, and honey. After the larvae have been on this diet for 4 days, each cell is sealed with a wax cap. Each larva will go through a metamorphosis, or change, first into a nymph and then into an adult. Nurse bees are never idle. They have little time to feed each larva the necessary 6,000 times. Alone in her cell, the larva weaves a silky cocoon. Then she metamorphoses into a nymph. There's eggs, there's the larva, and there's the nymph. In 6 days, the larvae have grown so much, 500 times the weight of the eggs, that they now fill up the cells. 21 days later, a new worker bee breaks through the wax cap. During her lifetime, which can last 5 weeks to 5 months, a worker bee will do several different jobs inside the hive. Worker bees usually don't become gatherers until they are older. An adult bee leaves her cell by ripping off the wax cap with her jaws. The queen leaves the hive. After another winter passes and spring returns, drones are born. The drones wait for the new queen to arrive. When the current queen stops laying eggs, some of the worker bees build cells around a group of recently laid eggs. These larvae are fed only royal jelly and will become queen bees. The current queen knows that one of her daughters will take her place as the new queen. So she flies away, followed by a swarm of worker bees. This swarm of thousands of bees will build a new hive. A new colony has been established. The queen bee flies away with thousands of worker bees in order to build a new hive. Drones have a thicker body than worker bees do. The swarm finds a temporary place to rest. Scouts will find a new location to build a hive and then will dance around the swarm so it knows in which direction to fly. After arriving in her new home, a gatherer starts collecting nectar and pollen. The new queen. The colony in the old hive is now orphaned, but not for long. 16 days after a new queen's egg was laid, she breaks out of her cell. The new queen searches the rest of the hive for competitors. If she finds any, she will kill them while they're still in their cell. If any other queens make it out of a cell alive, the 2 queen bees will fight to the death. A few days later, the winner will mark the area with her scent. In the days that follow, the new queen joins the drones in flight. Once a drone mates, he dies. The queen mates with many of the drones. After mating, the queen returns to her hive. Her only job is to lay eggs. She will not leave the hive again until the worker bees start to produce a new queen. The queen larva's cell is open at the bottom, but she doesn't fall out because she is stuck to its ceiling with royal jelly. So she's hanging with the royal jelly glue. All flying. The drones gather and wait for the queen. A queen bee weighs more than twice as much as a worker bee. Winter in the hive. The only purpose a drone has is to mate with the queen. Drones that don't mate with the queen are useless to the colony. The worker bees force the drones out of the hive. The drones try to resist, but without stingers, they can't put up much of a fight. When winter comes, these homeless drones will die. Even when they're not working, the honeybees need to eat. A hive can make 60 pounds of honey in a season, but it only needs about 30 pounds for the winter. Over 20,000 bees are huddled close together to keep warm. It's too cold to go out in winter. The worker bees stay in the middle of the hive around their queen. They have stored enough honey for the colony to survive through the winter. The worker bees grow fat in the cold weather, but as soon as spring arrives, they will once again take up their work of visiting the flowers. Snow covers the hives. The bees will not leave until springtime. Wow, there's even icicles. A domestic insect. This is about their protection. Many honeybees are domesticated, meaning they are cared for by humans. They are sheltered, tended to, and moved from one hive to another by the beekeeper, who is called an apiarist. Honeybees and silkworms are the only domesticated insects. All bees are also useful because they cross-pollinate flowers, especially those of fruit trees. Honey for everyone. Honeybees store away more honey than they need to last through the winter. A beekeeper can then remove some of it, about 30 pounds, without endangering the colony. Depending on the kinds of flowers that the honeybees have visited, different types of honey will be produced: clover, orange blossom, alfalfa, etc. Other bee products. Wax, pollen, and royal jelly are also harvested. Propolis, or bee glue, is tree resin that the bees use to insulate the hive. It can also be used in medicines. Beekeepers are very careful not to endanger a hive by removing too much of any one product. In the past, an entire colony would be killed with each harvest. The bee helps to fertilize flowers. Pollination. While collecting nectar from a flower, a honeybee gets covered with pollen. When she rubs against the next flower, some of the pollen falls into it. Now the flower has been fertilized. This is called pollination. Farmers use beehives to pollinate their fruit trees. This helps plants produce fruit. Varroa mites. Like all living things, honeybees sometimes get sick. Antibiotics and other medicines are successful in treating sick colonies. But for the last few years, varroa mites have been attacking hives. New medicines are being developed to cure honeybee colonies. Beekeepers keep the bees calm by filling the hive with smoke. See, that can has smoke that it's shooting out into the hive. Careful, bees sting. When a bee's stinger pierces another insect's outer shell, it comes out again easily. But small barbs keep the tip of the stinger from coming out of human skin. When a bee stings you, she leaves the stinger and a piece of her internal organs stuck in your skin. This causes her to die. Honeybees only attack to defend their hive, so it's possible to safely observe them if you stay far enough away from the hive. These tiny 8-legged creatures are varroa mites. Looks like they're on one of the larvae. Selecting a species. Each bee species is unique. A beekeeper chooses a species according to his needs and tastes. In general, it is better to raise a local species because it is adapted to the region. Oh, and this is a picture of the stinger. And that's some of the internal organs of the bee. And this is somebody's skin. Ouch. Family album. The bee's cousins. Like all insects, a honeybee has 6 legs. All bees belong to the order Hymenoptera. Wasps, which belong to the same order, are often confused with bees. Both bees and wasps gather nectar to feed their larvae, but unlike bees, wasps are very aggressive and also feed on other insects. Yellow jackets. Yellow jackets are a type of wasp that is found throughout North America. They build their nests out of paper and feed insects to their larvae. In winter, the colony dies, except for a few fertilized females that will each become the queen of a new wasp nest in the spring. Unlike a bee's stinger, a wasp stinger is smooth at the end. So a yellow jacket can sting a person more than once. Hornets. Hornets are the largest wasps. Like yellow jackets, hornets build paper nests and are aggressive when their nest is disturbed. Hornets live in North America, Europe, and Asia. Carpenter bees. Unlike honeybees, carpenter bees live alone. A female makes a nest by burrowing a tunnel into a rotten wood. In the middle of the nest, she stores up nectar and pollen and then lays an egg. After closing up this part of the tunnel with a mixture of saliva and sawdust, she begins the process all over again. When she is done, she has a colony of about 7 or 8 cells. Carpenter bees are found all over the world. That's the carpenter bee. And this is a bumblebee. Bumblebees. Bumblebees live in small colonies of a few hundred bees. While honeybees remain alive through the winter, bumblebees die. The only ones that survive are a few fertilized females. In the spring, each female will start laying eggs in her new nest. Bumblebees build nests in mossy places, hollows, and underground burrows. They also pollinate flowers and plants, such as tomatoes, that some other bees can't. They can be found in North America, South America, and Europe. So here's some websites you could go to learn more about bees. You can go to honey.com. You can find some trivia and history. You can go to kidsconnect.com. And you can go to lanakids.com to learn more about bee stings and what to do in case you get stung. Thanks for listening to this book about bees.